Like I feel like I got the full spectrum. I started with a black and white TV, and now I'm into this thing already. It's insane.
We're the weird generation, started from like nothing, and now VR.
We're the only generation that have had. I mean, like anyone before us was like farming, and then by the time they died, maybe
for a whole generation.
Maybe somehow one neighbor figured out that planting this other crop was a good idea, and that took 100 years, you know. Anyway, I'm just excited. I feel like, you know, everybody should be excited and happy, and it's like whatever is gonna happen is gonna be great for entrepreneurs, and it's gonna suck for anyone else.
It's already great for entrepreneurs. I mean, you can build a lot of stuff now and discover and research.
Hey. Welcome back to this week's Messy Middle. We were trying to figure out what we really wanted to talk about today. And I think sometimes we get a little too deep, a little too heavy. So this week, let's talk about something all of us are excited about as entrepreneurs, which is the future. Frank, take it away.
Futura.
Yeah. So again, welcome to the Messy Middle, where you go when you don't know what's next and you're in between startup. And yes, I want to talk about the messy future. That's a skill I always try to work on. I know all of us are trying to do that, and I keep seeing podcasts. I keep seeing people talking about the future of AI, the future of robotics, the future of health, that would be for Teddy. And it kind of makes me happy to talk about these things a little bit. You know, it could be further down. We don't really know what's going to happen, but I just want to get some energy today and, you know, kind of reflect on what we see is happening and what we believe will happen. But there's no doubt for me, at least right now, that we're living something that's the potential. I mean, it sounds obvious now, but I mean, a couple of years ago, maybe it was less, but we're still like figured out as a society what might happen. So scenario one is worst case scenario. We're just going to have the same progress we have right now in AI, just slightly faster. And let's imagine we kind of go to a plateau. That could be scenario number one. Scenario number two is these things get a lot better. And I'm just excited about all of that. And I really don't want to miss any of these things. And, you know,
So like scenario number one is that I don't think any of us actually think scenario number one is going to happen long term, but arguably it could happen short term, right?
I mean, that's the thing in AI is what do you call short, or in innovation in general, like what do you call short or long term?
What do you call it?
To me, 10 years is very short term in regard of mankind and very long term in the life of an entrepreneur. So many people say, I don't know if we'll have self-driving car, because I had this conversation more than 10 years ago with a friend who said, oh my God, self-driving cars are coming. And I'm like, it's not going to come anytime soon because it's way harder than people believe. 10 years later, people say, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so excited about, you know, self-driving car. And now people tell me back, oh no, it's more complicated than you think. And so I'm like, it's kind of weird how things reverse. But imagine the impact of an entire fleet of cars and trucks driving and boats and planes driving themselves, you know, even if it's within 10 years, like the impact of that on people's life, on the way nation works, on the way war works, like just the trillions and trillions of dollars of just that. And even what we have today in terms of technology is already enabling us. And that's the thing, you know, reflecting on with you, Teddy, and Gabriel, and just translation is already amazing. And so often people say you kind of have to catch the wave, and there used to be the internet wave, which was an amazing wave, and people get used to things so fast. I think it must be a property of a human brain. I was thinking about that often, I guess, but today also, like, you know, you take a hot shower, you have cherries, banana, nice whatever chicken for lunch, and all these things are like middle class stuff, and anywhere in the world you can have that now. But no king would have had that, 200 years ago, and we don't care. We don't see it. Or now I can have a VR helmet, put something in the VR world that's going to be right here, come back and look at it, and that was impossible 10 years ago, and no one cares about that. And so I'm really wondering, how much we like. I think recently I just saw that the Turing test has been roughly passed, for GPT, and no one cares about that. And so it's again like we already have something exciting, and no one cares about it already. And so if in the next future all these valuations that we believe are crazy now might actually be quite cheap. Robotics is clearly coming next very fast. I have a hard time predicting what the impact of that will be, because it goes everywhere. What's the economy when people jobs are being massively replaced by robots and AI? You can already see Europe approach will be to say you cannot do it. It's going to be regulated. Anyway, like, so how do you position yourself? And it's like being an entrepreneur right now at the beginning of a renaissance, and you have the potential to build like anything, gigantic things by just being very small. And you have now the potential to build a startup alone, just with some good idea on AI. So I don't know, just overwhelmingly excited, but maybe we can zoom into details. And health, like think about healthcare. And I know Teddy's thinking about that a lot, but yeah, soon you'll be able to program stuff yourself. Like you'll be able to program your body. And at the end of the day, I'm not worried about innovation. I'm worried about regulations. So I'm really wondering where is the place to be, where there's going to be, the maximum possibility for freedom. We go back to, this old geography is destiny.
Well, I mean, I think for sure Europe is not the place to be when it comes to, regulation. Even looking at what's happening with the AI regulation, I host Techtalia, which is coming up this year in Florence, October 4th through 6th. If anybody's interested, we have a special promo through the Messy Middle, which is 10% off your tickets. But
I see it on TV.
But like I was talking to a few Italian lawyers this week, and because we're pitching some Italian lawyers to sponsor the event, and there was one who's an expert in sort of AI, and I was like, well, what are you an expert in?
2 months ago.
But yeah, it's how can you be an expert in AI? I mean, getting back to the Techtalia, talking to these lawyers, but that wasn't even my point. Is I asked him, what is he an expert in? And he goes, oh, I'm going to be an expert, or I am an expert in AI regulation in Italy. And I was like, so can you walk me through what you think this regulation is going to be? And he's like, oh, we don't have enough time in this intro call to discuss that. And,
the beauty of it is the best AI regulators lawyer are going to be AI.
Of course. Yeah. So, I mean, duh. So I think geographically, we always talk about this, where you want to be, if you can really be, is go to California, go to New York,
Do you think really, I mean, California and New York to me seems to be the Europe of the US, it's like the land of regulations. Like, wouldn't be Texas better? Because I think right now there's a law that they're trying to pass against open source AI in California. Like, I'm really worried about California really messing with regulations. Maybe.
But you still have the best engineers there, so you could base yourself. You could still you could have your corporate headquarters in Austin, and you could have your employees in California. And yes, you are under California laws because you have a secondary sort of business there. But sure. I don't know. Like, let's take the flip side. I mean, Austin, you have two pretty good universities there, but. What's the AI talent?
To me, it's a long-term thing. California, I think if they play too much, if people keep believing that Silicon Valley is unbreakable and things are great, it might actually happen. Like the tension, and we go back to this tension, right? I remember seeing videos of Waymo cars being destroyed by people who hate Waymo. I think it was in California.
Sometimes the tension is healthy. I mean, this is.
Think about France.
Francisco.
People like cars burning everywhere. That's the way. It's very healthy.
Vive la France!
Switzerland is healthy, but
wait, sure. Frank. So we're talking about positivity. We're talking about the future. What is going to happen in France, actually, with tech and everything, AI? I mean, you're the European, so
France is really. To me, it's interesting because the French are very well positioned in AI. We have. I mean, at least I know two of my friends are like leading multi-billion-dollar AI company and they're French, but they also structure their company in the US.
They're probably more US than, yeah. Like the other episode we talked about founders from Europe becoming Americans typically with their companies. So they are French, but they're running American companies, I would say.
Yeah, correct. But honestly, I mean, as much as geography matters, I don't really like geography. I don't really care. To me, I could move to Ireland. I would just try to optimize my taxes as much as possible.
Why would you move to Ireland? You referenced Ireland. Why would you move to Ireland? Do you like the beer there?
Low taxes in Europe.
Texas.
The lowest one. That's why you have Google. That's why you have it's called the double Irish sandwich.
I was being facetious.
To me, tax optimization is, something I look at, and then after that is where's the talent. And you're right, the talent is in San Francisco, but talent in France is really, really good and way cheaper. But of course, you have Facebook and Google who goes there too. So it's there's talent everywhere. But I think again, like depending what you do, but the talent is soon not going to be that important if your AI has the level of a PhD. That's gonna be interesting. It's like, then I'm sure there's gonna be a need for laws about if you work with an AI that's based on California, should you pay taxes in California?
Probably.
I'm sure there'll be like a new act that's gonna say an AI is like the equivalent of a worker, and so where is the AI hosted is where you're gonna have to pay taxes. Like these guys are really gonna think about these kind of things. It'd be funny.
Well, they're not stupid. I mean, because they'll also have AI, so.
But again, we're far away from that. Like my friends who are researchers, everybody says that's like AI bullshit. Like people talk, but we're far away from that. So I try to think of that as a dream. I don't know if it will happen, but it looks like mankind is really thinking about that every day, really, really hard. It's like going to Mars. So will we go to Mars? Sure. Will we have self-driving car? Yes. And will we have like smarter AI that might be smarter than us? I believe yes. These are beliefs, but it looks like we're heading in a good direction. If you look back from the 1950s to today, it's very clear.
Yeah, I look at AI as we used to look at software in general. I don't think the geography matters at all. They're great engineers in Europe, in Ukraine, in Macedonia. Maybe right now it's easy to tell that like California is better in AI than like other places, but soon it's not gonna matter at all, just because talent is everywhere. So I don't know. Eventually we'll get to like super intelligence at some point, and it's not gonna be from one place. Like maybe it will be discovered at one point in one place, but then how things happen. Probably there are other teams working on the same thing elsewhere, so it's just going to show up.
Look, I think it's going to happen, and I think there's going to still be a place to go to that is the capital.
Short term.
Because well, not short term. I think long term. I just think that's how. Like, if you looked in every single sci-fi novel that's ever been produced, like there's always like we got to go to this planet because in this planet that's where they have the particular intelligence for this. We have
to think about.
I think you can go VR. You don't need to be anywhere.
In Star Wars, like we got to go here because that's where they've got this. We got to go here because that's. And yes, it's written by humans.
VR. But it will be in VR. You'll have to go anywhere. You'll be in VR SF from anywhere in the world. Like geography will not matter.
VR. You still have to go somewhere in VR.
The way exactly, I think again, I think about it the same way I think about software. Think about software for a second. You don't go for software in general, building something to a specific place. There are some places that are better in launching software products and building software companies, but like it's everywhere. Great talent that builds software, it's everywhere. From that perspective, from a perspective of a builder and creating AI companies, AI solutions, it can happen anywhere, multiple places in the same time. Maybe there will be the greatest talent. It's right now in San Francisco, but I think that will balance out with other places.
No, that's the thing is talent doesn't even really matter anymore. What really matters is luck. Whoever is going to be putting the right parameters, the right number of layers and training in the right data might just randomly find, better AI. It
Right.
doesn't feel like a science right now. It kind of feels like let's throw 1,000 H100s against the wall and put that data in and see what happens.
Also requires having the H100s. It requires, having the capital. It requires all of that. So you could have the smartest AI researchers and engineers, but they don't have access to the GPUs. They're not going to be able to do it. So like you look at the UK.
You have to be careful. You have to be careful about that. It's the typical entrepreneurial story, right? Which is maybe one guy in the basement with one H100 will find a creative way of doing better than 1,000 of them, and then like there's always this kind of disruption happening somewhere, and and right now I don't know what it would be, but yeah.
And there's probably one person like this. I don't know, the WhatsApp founders. There's person who decided not to move to California, but they moved there. But a person who is going to be, I'm not going to the US, I'll just stay in my country and just develop something there in a similar time. So back to the point about having the garage there and the startup being launched from there. I don't know, maybe I don't.
Give us an example of give me an example of a $1 trillion company that started outside of.
Oh, come on, there's like a $5 trillion company. Let's go for billion.
Okay, so $1 billion companies. Give me so I can name like three that.
Already a lot.
Well, three's a lot, but like in like Eastern Europe, you've got UiPath, right? But the guy basically based himself in Seattle to start with, then went back to Romania and Bucharest to build the company. But the company is headquartered in New York, so.
Again,
but are we talking about like the creation of like a huge value business, or creation of like great AI products or like super intelligence that maybe someone from I don't know, Romania will discover something and they will potentially move in the US and develop it here, like most of these examples in the past. But what I'm saying is that there may be someone in Romania right now working on something cool, and they may decide not to go to the US because it's just the way it is these days. You can be anywhere, you can attract people from everywhere, it's remote work, and maybe we'll see some kind of super intelligence coming up from another place than San Francisco.
It's kind of what happened
balance out.
It's true. It's kind of what happened. It's kind of what happened with crypto. In like when the US regulated crypto, like you had this big generation of value that came totally outside of the US. To me, that was a missed opportunity.
Yeah, crypto is interesting example that US missed on.
But it looks like the US have learned from crypto, and this time they kind of go slower on AI because they're like, oh shit, like we're. But let's not forget about Asia. I mean, how many billion-dollar companies are born in China, which I'd never heard of. It's
Oh well, I don't think.
Or in India.
China, look, I think China. It's tough to have the conversation with China because of the fact that those Chinese companies. You just can't compete with the Chinese companies because you can't operate in China. So I would say there's tons of billion-dollar companies that are created in China. There will be incredible AI companies that will come out of China. But we were talking about Europe, right? So let's stop beating
entrepreneurs. Anywhere.
Talking about Vietnam.
I feel like I'm getting spicy today. I mean, what is going on?
I don't know. But anyway, super exciting thing. Like to me, if AI keeps growing really fast, it's going to be funny because you'll get to a point where AI will be better entrepreneurs than us, right? It will constantly look at everything that's happening, constantly launch new products. Like we might very well be disrupted by that, and that's fascinating. Like it's like you just have like sheer data and volume machine, and so it would be curious to see how much everybody talks about creativity, but it's gonna be interesting to see if a machine can beat an entrepreneur or a founder if they really become smart in a way.
I would love to see that.
Yeah.
And we'll have three different AIs in between their exit. Like they have 5 milliseconds to do a podcast and be like, blah, 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 and then poof, they launch a new one.
I mean, they'll just be far more efficient than us. Yeah. So far more.
The AI will be like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I used so much energy during these first 30 days of launching my startup. I'm thinking about some holidays. I'm gonna go in the cloud and just watch 10 billion hours of YouTube videos. I wonder what the inner life of a AI founder would be.
Yeah, For some reason, it doesn't get me excited, but that's just because I'm a Luddite.
But
I'm kidding.
At least let's go to what Teddy is excited about, and this is happening too, right? Which is
Longevity.
AI will understand like longevity, and so AI will enable, to already enabling like to find genes that that are linked to sickness that we don't know about. We'll be able to build proteins that we don't know we can build, and that would help these things. And then you will be able to do all of that like in a customized way to the point that you can code your own body.
Yeah, run simulations
and again,
predict
the same. I'm not worried that this will be possible. I'm just worried about how much Europe or the US will love to regulate that, especially to protect the incumbent. And so, it's like I'm really thinking about which country. Maybe Africa is going to be the place to be. Like maybe maybe Nigeria, maybe I don't know, some emerging countries that have no rules. That will be like maybe the best place to innovate in the next decade.
Problem is, if the countries have no rules, like no rule of law, and Nigeria has rules, so I mean, they've got tons of
regulation. No, you need rules. Or
no, but
actually,
Nigeria, I mean, like, because look at Nigeria recently with crypto. They've regulated the hell out of it, and they arrested like 2 or 3 people from Binance. So I don't think Nigeria is a good option. I think it probably, for thinking, it maybe be one of the
Namibia,
Middle Eastern countries like UAE or something. I don't know. Like they'll say, "Oh, we'll do far less regulation." At least on this part of the AI. And so,
if I reflect, I think what's very likely, sadly, but that would be my bet, would happen, is we'll have no regulation to develop military, and because then it will becoming a matter of do we survive or not kind of thing, and if we go there, then laws will just disappear. Which is what happened in World War II. I mean, remember the planes before World War II and after World War II? Or the planes before World War I and after World War I?
I remember it just like yesterday.
the photos, when you're a student, and you see a soldier in 1914 and a soldier in 18. It's different.
Super soldiers.
1914 was like very red, very like look at me.
So do we think that everything seems to be every progress that we're gonna see from now on is driven by AI? It's AI in the core, or there's another technology or something that we are overlooking that's actually gonna also drive humanity forward?
Nothing beats AI right now. I mean, maybe there's hope for quantum computing, but no one really knows what you're gonna do with that. But I mean, AI right now allows you to look at things you already see it. Like you make progress in physics, you make progress in like this thing can look at billions of different things and find patterns.
Patterns.
And as soon as it's gonna get a little smarter, even though it's already, I guess, smarter than humans. When we say AGI, I think in a way we already achieved that. If you go and you average TikTok, and you compare to ChatGPT. But if it gets slightly smarter with infinite context windows and all those things, then imagine something that can read millions of research paper instantly. I mean, not instantly, but very fast, and find new things maybe that were already discovered and match them together. It's like what's the impact of that? Maybe just one innovation come out of that might have like just the like again, it's really hard to make a tokamak. It's really hard to stabilize that plasma. But maybe you just put an AI and you say stabilize plasma, and you punish it when it doesn't, and you give it a reward when it does, and maybe poof, you'll have an AI that does that. And I'm sure they're working on things like this to regulate the magnetic field, but I have no idea. Again, maybe nothing will happen, but if nothing happens, already we can build a lot of things.
Yeah.
But if it keeps moving, wow, that's like so exciting. We're so lucky to be, I feel like I got the full spectrum. I started with a black and white TV, and now I'm into this thing already. It's insane.
We're the weird generation, started from like nothing, and now VR.
We're the only generation that have had. I mean, like anyone before us was like farming, and then by the time they died, maybe
for a whole generation.
Maybe somehow one neighbor figured out that planting this other crop was a good idea, and that took 100 years. It's like that was your life before.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh, I'm speaking to my computer. Okay, but it's kind of dumb, you dumb computer. I'm like, Jesus, it would have been black magic before. Anyway, I'm just excited. I feel like everybody should be excited and happy. But like whatever is gonna happen is gonna be great for entrepreneurs, and it's gonna suck for anyone else.
It's already great for entrepreneurs. I mean, you can build a lot of stuff now and discover and research. Yeah.
I have a friend last week who called me and he's like, I'm working on this AI product, or 2 weeks ago. And I said, okay, I'll help you, advise him a little bit. And he's already got a term sheet out for $750,000. And I was like, wait, you just left your last company July, end of June. And I'd say like 2 weeks ago, and you're already, so I think it's a good time, and it's a good time to raise. It's a good time to do it.
Is it still a good time though? Like,
yeah, for sure. Of course. What do you
mean? The peak already?
No.
This is the best time. No.
So that's the thing is, everybody talks about a bubble. Could be a bubble, but again,
if you're really a long time.
No, but again, if
beginning of
people are like, oh my god, like, but if you look at the valuations of Nvidia, the factor it is compared to the internet bubble is nothing. Like this is the pluff.com, in the 2000 that was valued 70 million and made $0 is not the same as something that generates already billions of dollars, and that's a hardware company that builds real things. And
true.
If we're going to get to a point where these things are going to replace lawyers, discover new genes, make cars driving themselves, and 1 trillion doesn't cut it. These things are like worth $100 trillion. It's gonna be a menace for governments. Will be like, oh wow, this thing is like bigger than me.
And let me answer why it's a good time to raise money is because LPs are letting their VCs that manage the funds dump a ridiculous amount of money into AI. So that tap has not been turned off, and it won't be for a while because they're so yeah, it's a great time. And as an entrepreneurs for us who would start and raise whatever, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million in our seed round, that fills up like that. So and it's, if you're good at raising money and you're good at putting a team together, it's a great time to do it. And
executing.
Yeah,
having a vision.
You gotta execute.
Doing difficult things.
But it's not. It's a good time to get that team excited because you can show them a vision. We're talking about the future here, right? You can show them this vision, like this is going to happen the way that we think, and even if it doesn't, it's going to happen in a similar way. So why wouldn't we start something now to do this? That's kind of the argument, as you're thinking about from the future side. Like you do this, or you can start something, that is far less exciting, which might actually end up making more money, but you might not be able to raise money on it. So if you're taking it from the point of view that you want to raise money, get your thing financed, I think it's a really good time. Like case in point, like everybody I know who's raising money in AI, and they're not that great, they've all gotten checks. But if you were like a company that raised money last year, raised money the year before, and has not had progress, you will not get a check. So, but that's why it's kind of always good to be. It's always good to be early stage, because you should be able to raise money, because it's at the idea stage. Unless it's a shit idea, and if it's a bad idea, the investors just won't put money in. And I know so many entrepreneurs that haven't raised money, and they blame it on this idea that, oh, the investors aren't excited. Oh, the AR market is taking all of my market share. Oh, the hot crypto market's taking my share. No, you just fucking suck at raising money.
Which could be fine. It's like, as long as you keep trying. There's always these stories of people with shit ideas and another being great.
So pushing for 10 years.
Honestly, it's like fundraising is always difficult, but I always find CEOs to do that part, because it's like so. It's basically, it's like being a sales guy, right? It's like if you make 1,000 calls, you make 1,000 calls, you take 1,000 meetings, you pitch your thing 1,000 times, and then being an early stage founder, early stage CEO, even if I don't like titles because it doesn't really make sense at the early days, but you see what I mean. It's like you're just gonna be a parrot and just gonna keep repeating, and then you'll make it and show and build and. That's one way. The other way is you don't care about that. You build a thing and you just slowly launch it. There's 1 million style. Now we're getting into the style. But for the style of founders who are big on fundraising, like now is good time for hunting.
So going back to the topic, are we the only thing that we're excited about is AI, and there's nothing else to be excited about? That's it. That's also everything.
No, after that, I agree. But AI becomes everything, right? It's like that was this joke, like the world, the software is eating the world, and AI is eating software.
Eating software, yes, exactly.
And so then from AI you have robotics. From AI you have genetics. From AI you have all these things that kind of trickle down. Like even crypto makes sense with AI, right? Because your AI bot might not have a bank account, but you could have a crypto wallet, and so it's just everything.
But so with crypto, AI does not directly impact the evolution of crypto. I think they work together in some sort of collaboration between the two.
Sort of hype.
No, I think it does. It makes smart contracts. It makes smart contracts smart. No, it's not. I mean, okay, it is if you believe the legal system is bullshit, which I believe it is. But you can rebuild that, right? You'll have smart contracts run by AI lawyers, crypto things. Crypto might be the place where you can experiment and no one cares. But why not?
Yeah, no, my point is,
I mean, right now, that's something you could build. I don't know if anyone did that, but for example, we can say, you and I can come to an agreement right now in this video. It's being recorded, and let's say there's an AI agent that looks at it and that's plugged into an Oracle, and difficult to hack. And then the agent says, I just automatically wrote a contract between Frank and Teddy based on what you said, because I know this, I identified you before, and then put somebody in. Like, all of that is possible right now. And
it is
but again, it takes effort to do that. Then you have to go and pitch it to some guy and say, look, that's the future. People say, I don't know. I mean, you have to work 5-6 years on it, but someone somewhere is working on these things, and it's
there's these guys, they released they call it the AO computer. It basically allows you to write smart contracts and invoke AI functions. But what I'm saying is that AI does not directly drive innovation in crypto, meaning crypto can exist without the AI part. While, for example, in longevity, AI helps you discover new proteins, new combinations, simulations, things like that, versus this. So like it's like independent in a way.
It might not be if AI becomes really, really good at coding and cryptography. You can imagine like cryptographic models. You can imagine other things like the same with robotics, right? It's like AI is driving robotics, but you still have also innovation in the way you make efficient battery, efficient torque, small motors, like there's all these things. Everything's connected, but AI is really the thing right now that at least has a lot of hope in it. Will it crash? I like when Yann Lequin was showing this thing where it's like, you see the progress could be an S curve, which is like, it goes slow, then goes up, and then flattens again. But if you zoom on the S curve, it looks like an exponential. So that's the big question. Are we is this thing like it's going to be an exponential, or is that thing just going to flatten? But even if it flattens, like there's a lot of exciting things we can do right now, which is really crazy.
Exciting times to be alive. Okay.
Amazing. Yeah. Great time to be in the messy middle.
Who's got the quote?
Teddy's turn.
It's my time, yeah.
Time to shine.
I have a couple quotes.
AI guy.
This is from Naval, I think. It says, it's unrelated to the topic. Sophisticated foods are bittersweet. Wine, beer, coffee, chocolate. Addictive relationships are cooperative and competitive. Work becomes flow at the limits of ability. The flavor of life, it's on the edges. That's it.
I'm not sure why, but it reminded me for some reason about Elden Ring. You just get beaten up all the time, and you find pleasure into it. That sounds like that, but yeah. What's your interpretation of that quote? Can you translate it?
Well, I think it's my interpretation is that everything or the good things in life they're not necessarily good all the time or perfect. There's like this bittersweet things that you should learn how to enjoy. So that's my kind of interpretation. And then there's other piece of it where it says the work becomes flow at the limit of ability. So I think it also means you should constantly push yourself to the edges, and that's where you discover things, even if it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about the Elden Ring.
Yep.
Well, on this nice quote, let's meditate on it and you
Did
know,
I ever tell you my
see you
Naval
soon.
story?
Oh no.
Was that?
That I had like massive food poisoning and I spent the night at Naval's.
No, we don't want that story.
I spent the we'll tell it next time. But for next week, I'll tell the story of how
Maybe the quote came to him after that.
I had massive food poisoning. I spent the night in the Dominican Republic at their villa, Naval and his wife. So I had a very fun time with Naval. But that was not fun that evening.
That sounds bittersweet, yeah.
Both coming in and out. I mean, geez. So, okay, we'll talk next week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.